Hello and welcome to part 2 of this video on the theme of marriage for our Love Through the Ages topic. Continuing on from the previous video, we're now going to look through a poem in terms of the theme of marriage. But before we do that, here's a reminder of our poetry checklist. If you haven't seen this before, do go back and watch my unseen poetry video where I talk through this in more detail. But these are the 6 things that we're going to be analysing in the poem to get a really good sense of the poem as a whole and to practice our skills of analysis. So we need to look at form, structure, language, voice, context, and finally meaning. So firstly, I'm just going to scroll through this poem for you so that you can have a read of it. It is a poem called For My Lover Returning to His Wife, written by the poet Anne Sexton in 1969. And I've just annotated a few words that you might not understand. I had to look them up myself to give you some context and help you understand the poem in more detail. So just pause the video now while I scroll through it so that you can give the poem a read so you know what we're talking about when we analyse our poem. So the first item on our checklist is form. And this poem has a relatively irregular form, but mainly it comprises of 4-line stanzas. I'll just scroll through this so you can see it. However, there are a couple of 2-line stanzas that really stand out for emphasis and are very poignant. The next item on our checklist is structure. I've identified here a moment of enjambment where the one sentence flows into a next line, and actually this flows across stanzas or paragraphs, which really creates a relentless and flowing tone to the poem. So it really emphasises the thousands of things that this wife has done. Here, these dashes and the cutting off of lines, she doesn't really finish the thought, and this shows the kind of cutting off emotion, and she's also cutting off her lover. She's letting him go so that he can go back to his wife. Here I've identified an ancient literary technique called Anaphora, and actually this technique comes from Greek and Roman ideas of rhetoric. But essentially, anaphora is the repetition of a word or phrase at the beginning of a line, which really creates emphasis and power and strength. And so we can see here the repetition of for really emphasises the wife's.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're looking for an amazing A-level English literature resource, join me today in my series of engaging bite-sized video tutorials. Together, we will concisely cover all the important concepts required by your exam board specification, as well as practically apply what we have learnt through exam-style questions, focusing on how best to structure your answers in order to maximise marks. See you soon, and together, let's make A-level English literature a walk in the park.